Good morning, and thank you for joining us today as part of our TISOH Hospitality Fall Speaker Series. My name is Anthony Lai, Student Affairs Program Manager here for TISOH. Our special guest presenter today is Juliet Douglas. Juliet is a TISOH alum, and she will discuss her entrepreneurial experience on how she made the transition from a long and successful career as a wedding and event planner to her new business venture of opening up a coffee bar. Her new coffee bar is called Golden Fog, located in the Arts District of downtown Las Vegas, and they recently celebrated their grand opening this past week. One of the unique features about Golden Fog is that it is an exclusive carrier of Sightglass coffee, an independent coffee company based in San Francisco that practices small production methods to deliver the highest quality coffee roast. Later in the presentation, Juliet and her lead barista will showcase a few simple coffee making tips to add a bit of spice and flavor to your morning cup of joe. So Juliet, I'm going to hand over the speaker to you. If you don't mind sharing us a little bit about yourself and your background. I'm going to ask you to unmute just real quick.
Can you all hear me now? Clearly, this is my first Zoom call, so thank you so much for joining us. My name is Juliet Douglas, as Anthony mentioned. I am a 2007, I believe, alum of the International School of Hospitality. I was the second graduating class for the wedding coordination design planning class. So that's where I started my career. I have a hotel degree from UNLV, as well as my TISOH wedding planning certificate. And for about 10 years, I planned weddings. So I had my own company called Green Orchid Events for about 10 years. And I planned weddings all over the city. We even did some weddings outside in California, Arizona. And 10 years into that experience, I was sort of ready to move on and work in hotels again. My very first job was in a hotel at Circus, and I was sort of missing working in a hotel setting, or in a restaurant hotel setting. So I sold my business to my then business partner, Angelica. So now she's actually a successful wedding planner, and she owns Angelica Rose Events. And I do have to backtrack and say I am wearing sunglasses because it's a little loud inside our shop, and we actually had to move this presentation outside and the sun is beating down on me. So I apologize for that. So hopefully that kind of explains why I'm in sunglasses. So anyway, Angelica now owns Angelica Rose Events. She's doing an amazing job. I was ready to move on into bigger events and different events. So my next step was working as the private dining director for Fleming's Prime Steakhouse. That's the location in Town Square. I actually opened up that location in 2014 as their private dining director. So I booked events in all of the private rooms and any sort of restaurant buyouts. So I did that for about 4 years, and then I was ready to move on again to the Strip. So most recently, I was at the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas. I was booking groups in all 17 restaurants and lounges, ranging from 13 people all the way up to buyouts of different venues there. And then because of COVID, my position was actually eliminated. About 10 years ago, my husband started talking about wanting to open up a coffee shop. And I thought he was a little crazy. I never wanted to open any sort of restaurant or any food and beverage establishment because I grew up in the restaurant business with my dad having been in a restaurant business. So I sort of told him, this is not something I want to do, but for years, every time we would travel, we would go to coffee shops like Blue Bottle Intelligentsia, Portola, in San Francisco, downtown LA, even London. And he sort of took a lot of notes, and he would observe the baristas and how they would work and their kind of process. We would keep track of the number of people that would be coming into the different coffee shops, and really took a lot of mental notes. Last October, he decided, you know what, let's do this. I think it's time. Let's put together a business plan. I think we're ready to do this. We're going to hire a general manager because you have your career. We'll hire a consultant because we don't know what we're doing. So a year later, here we are. We've got our coffee shop. We had our grand opening this past weekend. It was a pretty big success on that very first day. We've got some great feedback. People are loving our products so far, so it's really exciting. We're in the heart of the arts district in downtown Las Vegas, so that's really exciting because we're an artistic family. We've got a general manager who's an artist. My husband's an artist, so I think this is a perfect fit for us. So we're really excited to be in this location. And then now I'm actually going to introduce our lead barista. He's actually been with us since February. We were scheduled to open up in May. So we hired our general manager and Sean back in February to kind of guide us through this process. So he's been with us for quite some time now, and he's going to be talking a little bit about his background and the team that we've put together and all of the things that we represent.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us. We're really happy to be here and be sharing our story with you. My background is I began in the coffee industry right out of high school, and I've been in it for about 15 years. And I owe a large portion of my career to having a really good mentor right out the gate. Someone who taught me all about the supply chain and the importance of the various brew variables in coffee. And in addition, the hospitality of it all. And it's something I immediately fell in love with, both the hospitality and the craft, and never stopped pursuing. And that was 15 years ago when it was a little bit more difficult to find specialty coffee. So I was usually that one person in the cafe experimenting and trying to manipulate the tools that we had to work better for us. And throughout the years, the industry has really changed, and the public perception of coffee has really changed. And that's worked out really well for me. So here at Golden Fog, as Juliet mentioned, I joined the team back in February and helped put together this program. And part of our focus is we want to provide the highest quality ingredients. Everything we provide here has been carefully considered, from our sugars to our milks, to the quality of our beans, to the chocolate we use for our mochas and our hot chocolates. Everything is part of our intentional process. And specialty coffee and third wave coffee are synonymous but distinct. Specialty coffee actually refers to the quality of the ingredients you're using. Coffee is itself a commodity, and therefore it has varying degrees of quality across the globe. And specialty is the highest quality produced. And so here at Golden Fog, we use specialty coffee, high quality coffee roasted by Sightglass coffee out of San Francisco, Juliet's hometown. And it also, utilizing Sightglass, distinguishes us from some of the other very good coffee shops in the area. Additionally, third wave coffee, distinguished from specialty coffee, is more of the approach. Third wave is carefully considering all the variables. For instance, the machine you see on your screen right now is a San Remo machine. This machine allows us to control the brew temperature. It allows us to control the time. We have high quality grinders that allow us to control particle sizes. And essentially what we're doing is we're carefully considering every variable and paying attention to the whole process of brewing, making sure that we're doing the best we can to bring a high quality and consistent product to the consumer. And in the way of consistency, we've been very fortunate, all things considered, with the pandemic, because here in Las Vegas, there were a lot of baristas who had lost their jobs. That worked out well for us because the resumes we received had some of the best baristas in town. And we were able to take our time with a few construction delays to get into our distributor's warehouse and work on that very machine you see and to train thoroughly everybody on our team. And that was invaluable. Our grand opening had fewer hiccups than any grand opening I've ever been a part of. I've worked in many different coffee shops, and I've also worked in the restaurant industry developing specialty coffee programs for full service sit down restaurants, which is a very difficult thing to accomplish when you consider the craft that goes in to creating specialty coffee. And so I have been in all kinds of situations, and this has by far been the best team I've ever worked with and the most thoroughly trained team I've ever worked with. And that is partially due to Juliet and Derek's willingness to take the time to slowly train everybody and to listen and to learn right along with everybody else, so that when there are variables that need to be considered, they understand the language that we're using. And like I said, it's been invaluable. I wanted to briefly show you some of the tools we work with here at Golden Fog that could also be utilized at home or in your operations to create a better coffee program. The first of which is a kettle with a gooseneck. What this allows is for a steady and controllable stream of coffee when making pour-overs. This is a pour-over device. This is called a Kalita, and this here is a decanter. This would be essentially similar to making a batch brew of coffee. It's very similar in shape and size. It has a flat bottom, and it sort of mimics what you would use when you're using a Bunn or a Curtis or a Fetco brewer for your operation, except what it allows us to do is make 1 cup at a time, 1 or 2 cups, and to control the variables a little more intentionally. This gooseneck kettle here allows me to control the stream, the angle, the turbulence, everything sort of falls under my control. And in addition to these, it's recommended you have a scale. This is for the brewing process, but it's also for making sure that every batch of coffee you produce is weighed equally. Every batch should be the same weight, because at the end of the day, coffee is comprised of 2 ingredients. That is the coffee beans themselves and water. Water quality is crucial, but the 2 of these things in tandem, it's all about the ratio. If you increase the coffee or decrease the coffee, increase the water or decrease the water, it's going to monumentally affect the output. And that's some of the few things you can do to make your coffee program a little better. And a little pro tip that you can do without needing to purchase any more coffee equipment is, when brewing coffee, it is crucial that you wet your filter. What this is going to do is take the paper taste from the production of the filter, and it's going to rinse it away, so that when you discard that rinsed water and start brewing your coffee, all you're going to taste is coffee, and you're not going to taste that paper filtery taste. In addition, we use decanters here. However, for a home program, it works just as well to brew directly into the cup. That's about all I got for us. That's my background and a little bit about us here at Golden Fog.
So I know this was a little short, but I'm hoping that we can start our Q&A if there are any questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. And let's look. Can we look in the chat box?
Yeah, for anyone who has a question and answer for a question, you can put your questions to Juliet on the Q&A as well as on the chat box. But I have a question for you, Juliet. How did Golden Fog came about? Like, where did the name originate from, and what inspired you to create that or develop or name your coffee bar Golden Fog?
Okay, sure. It was a number of things. We were obviously trying to find something that didn't sound generic or cheesy or anything like that. And we thought long and hard. Golden, and like I think Sean mentioned, I'm from San Francisco, or maybe you mentioned, I'm from San Francisco originally. So Golden kind of stands for the Golden State. It also stands for our love of the Vegas Golden Knights. And thirdly, Golden is the last name of my husband's sort of like late uncle. His name was John Golden. So it was kind of like three of those things. And then fog, obviously, San Francisco, there's fog there. It's kind of a play on words too, because London fog is a drink that, you know, is served in a lot of coffee shops, which is Earl Grey and milk. And so that's kind of how we came up with the name. We thought it kind of sounded cool.
Wonderful, thank you. You also have some, oh, looks like we have a Q&A here. So other than from Charles, other than COVID issues, what was the most difficult thing about opening the coffee shop?
Oh, let's see. That definitely was the biggest challenge because we originally were scheduled to open in May, and I'm sure we would have had some delays with COVID or not. I believe that that was probably our biggest challenge because we were supposed to be opened in May. We had the funds set up to kind of get us through to a May start date. And because of delays, we actually had to come up with a little more money. The construction budget, we kind of exceeded that by quite a few zeros. So that was a big challenge. I think being a small business, it was harder for us to nail down certain vendors. We just had a lot of construction delays. The city was closed for a bit. So every week we were delayed by the city in getting our permit. That was obviously more money that came out of our pocket. So I would say that those are the biggest challenges.
Absolutely. Question from Emily, which kind of echoes Charles' question. What was the most challenging in opening your coffee shop? Is there anything that was just like took a while or it wasn't what expected? But
I can give you specifics. I actually have probably 8 pages worth of challenges from just the last 3 weeks prior to opening. So let me try to remember some of the things. The company that was providing us with our equipment, there were a lot of delays. And so it was timing the equipment arrival. We had ordered some of our equipment months ago, and they stored it in their warehouse. And one of I believe it was a freezer, got sold to another company. And so they mentioned that it would be another freezer that they could provide us with, and at an additional cost of $1,000. So I wasn't happy about that. So then we had to go and hunt for a local company to get certain pieces of equipment. So that was a bit challenging. We were ready to sort of decorate in the last couple of weeks, but instead my husband and I had to go and hunt for, you know, a freezer and a refrigerator and different things like that, a sink, things like that. So I would say that those were a few of our challenges. We had, for example, our countertop company tried to save money, so they shipped the tile to Texas, and then it was left in Texas. So they had to scramble and get us new tile. And I'm sorry, not the counter company, the tile company. So that delayed us because the tile needed to go in first before the countertops went in, different things like that. So those were sort of the delays that were really challenging, and we had deadlines, and we kept having to push back and say, okay, we're going to open now in August, and then now in September, and then October. So those were some of our biggest frustrations because we wanted to meet a deadline and we were sort of at the mercy of everybody else.
Would you say flexibility is a key trait that you have learned over the process of opening?
Definitely. I think this is probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, career-wise. And this is from someone who's owned a wedding planning company, dealing with brides, grooms, just a service-based business where you almost had to prove your worth and why you're charging what you're charging for a service-based business. Even with all of that experience, this is probably by far the hardest thing I've ever done.
All right, so this is a question for either you, Juliet, or for Sean. For someone who doesn't drink coffee on a regular basis, what would you recommend to try in your shop?
Oh, I think we're both touch on that because I don't drink coffee. I don't like coffee. My husband's a coffee drinker, so we actually develop a tea program because I need something to drink for myself. Every time we would visit coffee bars, I would be left with 2 to 3 teas to choose from, and they were usually mediocre. So we developed a tea program where we have 20 loose leaf teas. Sean can kind of expand on that.
Actually, to piggyback off that tea program, we're very proud of our tea program. We use high quality teas from a local tea importer and prepare them in a very delicate and careful way. Each tea gets the full respect. There's no tea bags here. It's all loose leaf teas produced in a gaiwan, which is a little more traditional way of preparing tea. So I highly recommend trying the tea when you come in. As for the coffee program, we have a variety of single origin coffees that we could produce by the cup that are, if you were to try each of those, it would be a great exploration of the world of coffee to demonstrate how different coffees from different parts of the world really bring forth their own character and want to be expressed in different ways. And our baristas are very knowledgeable, so any questions that anyone had in the moment, they'd be more than willing and happy to answer. Us baristas, we're really nerdy and we really love talking about coffee. I also want to mention that we are very vegan friendly. We're not entirely vegan. We do still have whole milk and cream cheese for our bagels. However, our alternative milks are amazing. They're very few ingredients, very clean. They're essentially, say our almond milk is almonds, water, dates, and salt. Short shelf life, so we make it fresh frequently, and they are to die for. They're so creamy, so rich, with such a great body that when I have guests come in who typically drink a whole milk latte, I will still pitch it to them. They will try it and they will enjoy it, and they also feel like they've finally found a place where they can try an alternative milk if they're trying a new diet or etc. I really highly recommend trying our alternative milks.
Wonderful, thank you for that. All right. I also want to mention that I stopped by the other day, and to Emily, I definitely highly recommend their matcha latte for someone who's not a coffee drinker like myself.
Yes, it's delicious. I usually drink that as well. Did you drink it with oat milk or did you drink it with almond milk?
I drink it with almond milk.
Almond milk, okay. Yeah, that one's really good.
All right, question from Charles. Why did you decide on the art district of downtown?
It's funny because originally, up until last October, my husband and I lived in Henderson, and we were actually looking at a spot off of St. Rose and 215, and we were pretty set on that, but it kind of fell through. It was next to Juice Standard. I think now there's Redemption Fitness in there, so we thought that would be kind of a cool area. But my husband is an artist, as I mentioned, and he did 2 big murals outside of this building, of the shared downtown building where we're actually located. He did 2 large panels, and he was talking to the landlord about how we were looking for a spot for our coffee place, and he said, well, I've got 2 locations. How about share? And so we we came out here a few times, kind of scoped out the area to see what the foot traffic was like. And we were always here, but we actually were, during that time, we were really looking and seeing, you know, from a consumer standpoint, like, do people come out here? What does it look like? Are people going to the coffee places around here? And Vesta Coffee is about 2 blocks away from us, and they were always busy. There was always people walking around, and we thought, you know, we're pretty artsy, and I think this would actually be perfect. It's really up and coming. There's a lot of new restaurants. This place is going to look different in 3 to 5 years. So we thought it would be the better move. So here we are.
Yes, yes. And I know we mentioned coffee a lot, but is there any, I know you guys have a selection of like pastries like that you use from local Vegas retailers. Could you talk a little bit about what you guys offer as well for
Sure.
something that's edible? Mhm.
Yes, so we don't make anything food-wise in-house. We want to focus on our beverages. So we do use some vendors here. We've got savory pastries, we've got vegan donuts, we've got regular croissant and vegan croissants. What else do we have?
Cookies, vegan
Cookies.
cookies that
Yes.
nobody yet has been concerned with the fact that they're vegan. They are incredible vegan cookies.
They're probably our top selling
Yeah.
food item right now. So yes.
All right, question from Charles. This is for Sean. What do you see for the future of coffee and tea, both from the product side and the business side?
Here in Vegas, coffee and tea are both becoming a very, very popular choice in the specialty market. The consumer's palate is beginning to evolve, and we're seeing specialty coffee shops open up all over the place. Eastern, all the way down, is a very popular coffee corridor, and of course here downtown, very popular. Going all the way back to Samba Latte was one of the very first great specialty coffees in town, as well as Madhouse Coffee. So what I see is it's sort of catching up to itself. It's been here for a while, but the consumer's palate is beginning to evolve to appreciate that. And what's more is on the hospitality side of things, it's important in these specialty coffee shops not to alienate the Dutch Brothers or the Starbucks consumer, is to still have something that they might appreciate, to know what they're asking for when they're asking for something sweet, and to know how to accommodate their palates and eventually bridge that gap. Offer them a little sample of something. For instance, when I have someone order a pour-over coffee, which is best consumed black, but they ask for cream and sugar, no hard feelings, but I will pour a little off the side and have them taste it black just to sort of help them expand their palate. I'm not trying to tell them how to appreciate or what to enjoy. It's just more about allowing them to further explore this culinary world on the beverage side of things. And as far as tea is such a wild world. Because of Juliet's interest in tea, I have opened my world up to tea through Golden Fog, and went for several months through the shutdown of only drinking tea and drinking no coffee, not because I was trying to learn, but because I was just that enthusiastic about what I was tasting. We have such a great tea provider here. And I'm hoping that the tea industry here in Vegas and beyond our market starts to become more popular. I know it's actually a more popular drink around the world than even coffee is, but it's trying to find that high quality tea rather than just a simple tea bag, which can still be very good and very therapeutic, but there's a different experience when you have a really, really well, gently brewed tea that has like a liveliness on the palate that's different than coffee, which is very functional beverage and a very satisfying beverage. Tea can be a very enlivening beverage, and that's what I've learned the most through this process. But the future of the industry is a very difficult thing to predict. In fact, when we began this journey back in February, which was the same month that things began to shut down, we noticed interruptions in the supply chain because both tea and coffee are produced outside of the States, with the exception of, say, Puerto Rico and Hawaii. So with the shutdown and the pandemic, supply chains have been interrupted. But going forward, global warming and climate change has really impacted the price and the supply of the commodities. I know in, say, Colombia, where I have a few friends that have coffee farms. As the climate changes, where their farms are located is no longer suitable for growing coffee. And the farmers cannot afford to move their farms up the mountain to the cooler climates. So we're seeing disruption in who's providing the coffee and how much coffee is being provided. Therefore, the price is going up, which is sort of strangling specialty coffee just a little bit, making that price go up, which is making it more difficult for the consumer to get, which is making the commodity level coffee a little more popular. So it's difficult to predict, but that's essentially what's happening. Is there's a ripple in the supply chain where we've had a little bit of consistency and reliability over the last several years. There's commodities are always fluctuating, but this is somewhat unprecedented. So that's a hard one to answer in the long term. But here in Vegas, the palette is accommodating our specialty palette quite well. And I'm very excited to see what's going to happen over the next 10 years.
Do you feel that when you guys were opening the coffee shop, you couldn't do without the tea component, or it kind of works hand in hand just nowadays?
May I answer?
Yes.
I think on one hand, it was very important to include the tea component because that's what Juliet drinks. And it's best to serve what you know, and it's best to serve what you love. If your heart's not in it and you're just trying to sell a product, that typically translates not only on the aesthetic side of things, but I'm a firm believer that emotions come through in the drink. And if you don't believe in it, the consumer won't believe in it. And they will taste sort of staleness in the final product. I also think it was crucial, aside from our appreciation of tea, because there's a large gap in the market. So it was something that we recognized and we're eager to fill, because though everyone has a great tea program downtown, I might be biased when I say I think we have one of the better tea programs in all of Las Vegas, frankly.
Question from Ashley to Juliet. Do you feel your career in wedding planning has prepared you in any specific ways for this new venture?
Yes and no. I think my career as a small business owner in the wedding field definitely has prepared us, because it really taught me a lot about marketing, social media marketing. When I started my wedding planning career, it was back in the days where I don't think Instagram was around yet, and it was all blogging to really bring up your Google ranking and things like that. That was how I knew how to market my business. And so I created a blog to really grow my business, and also the networking component of it. Though we can't really network right now, I would say that really taught me how to network, and it has helped me in the last 2 jobs I've had. It was all about networking and growing sales that way. So I think we started our social media back in February because I knew that we couldn't wait until the week before we're going to open to start an Instagram account or Facebook or anything like that. We really needed to create a buzz within our community, and I think we did a great job with that within the downtown Las Vegas community as well as Las Vegas. And so I think that has really, having a business has really prepared me for that.
Well, speaking on like social media and marketing, what are some of the ways that you guys have marketed? Because you said that you mentioned that you did marketing in February. How did you generate content to fill in, even though you guys were open?
It was a little tough. I wasn't posting every day, but we took pictures here and there, and then we really started to talk about our neighbors and what you can do in downtown Las Vegas, because this is sort of a destination, and we noticed that it's probably busier on weekends. People are coming out, having brunch, getting a coffee, a tea, and then maybe going to one of the local stores and shopping. So we really wanted to highlight the neighboring businesses. So for example, those who live in the suburbs, like my sister lives in the suburbs, she doesn't come downtown. And so we were trying to kind of talk to people like my sister and say, hey, this is what you can do downtown. It's not just Fremont Street. It's very walkable. They've got great restaurants here, and then you can come see us. So I think we really started to do that, and we really connected with our local businesses here, and then they started talking about us as well, and that really created a buzz. And then we also started talking about the products we were going to offer, like our plant milks it's a company called Good Milk. We talked about how they don't use gums, binders, fillers. Grabbed some photos through their website and their company, and I just kind of got content however I could grab content.
Yeah. And in some cases, when you're talking about the other businesses here in downtown, you're forming a community here, and also some way of like a cross promotional selling. You share what they have, and then they would share what you have. And I
Yes,
think that's a great way.
that was very important to us. We really wanted to. It's all about community, especially in the arts district. And I was lucky enough. I do have a friend that already has a business here. Cork and Thorn, Randy Garrett. She's amazing. So she's given me some kind of like information and insight into the area. And we've introduced. My husband knows the owner of Majestic Theater because he's done some work there. So we already had some friends in the neighborhood, and so it was expanding on that.
Let's see if we have any further questions. I believe we actually covered most of it. All right. So how do we get to your place, Juliet? What's the where are you guys located? If you mind
Right.
telling our audience again.
So we are located on 1300 South Casino Center. We are located on the ground level of the Share Downtown building. So Share Downtown is a 60 plus apartment building, 60 plus unit apartment building, and we're located on the ground level, corner of Casino Center in Colorado. As far as directions, I'm not very great with directions, but that's our address.
All right, so that's all typed in the chat feature for anyone who wants to reach out and get and stop by. What is the Golden Fog's website? If so, they can look into your specialties.
goldenfoglv.com. We're open Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then Sunday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
All right. Well, once again, thank you to both Juliet and Sean for sharing us your coffee making tips and your stories. And thank you for joining us this morning. And to our audience, stay tuned for our future webinars. Follow with us on Facebook, Instagram, or any other social media outlet for the latest upcoming fall lineup of TISOH events that we have in store for you. All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for having us.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.